What's up, beautiful people? Let's take a tour of the Apartheid Museum. And I say let's because there I am just to show you I was physically there in Johannesburg, South Africa. So, as you all can see, this is just beautiful, right? I was just in awe, enamored already. But it is a depiction which, boom shakalaka, it talks about it there, the journeys. But here is a depiction of all of the various groups of people, all of the various groups of races, all the various groups of nationalities that came to South Africa for the search of gold. Gold was a thing. Gold popped off back in 1886, and people representing here on the mirror situations were people, various people that came over, just representing all the different nationalities, all the different cultures, all the different races. And so essentially, like, this was the, if you will, bedrock of Johannesburg, of South Africa. But then there was apartheid that came to break up that mixed community, mixed diversion, and mixed diversity of people, that the museum is there to talk about. And then that last sign was talking about all the rock and all that good stuff that makes the wall to the left, which I was just like, oh my gosh, the ingenuity of it all. And then, as you can see, boom shakalaka. I'm not even going to try to say what y'all saw. If you can, boom shakalaka. But we are walkers, which as we go through the various sections leading up to the museum itself, you'll see different we are's. But there you can see we are walkers. And then it goes on to say we are thinkers. And so this was like very dope because I personally love to think, and I think thinking is a very valuable tool that often people don't do. But I think even right here it shows like the different thoughts, the different creativity, the different dreams, the different things that come about when you actually do think. But even outside of like what it depicts, it's just cool. Like, man, just beautiful. We are fighters, right? And then of course we are warriors, and it depicts fighting and things like that took place in South Africa. And that was cool. And then as you can see, other people, right? It just shows other different types of people that were a part of the rush. We are grazers. Like, look at this. This gentleman is less than 4'3", less than 4'3" tall, right? And if I met him, I would feel tall. We are storytellers. And then there it talks about the various languages. Y'all will see tracks of extinct languages, the various languages that were about in South Africa that either are extinct now or that it just shows all the different languages. Even while you're there, you get to talk to the people. When I say there, I mean South Africa. It's just so many different languages that are spoken about with the people, which I love. I'm enamored with it and excited to even learn a new language. I say a because it may be one, it may be two, but I'm gonna learn one. And here you can see writing on the wall, I do not hear the ringing sound in the sky, which I used to hear. I feel that the string is really broken. Wow, what's a saying? And then as you can see, we are survivors, which I love that. I love that. It just talks about the various steps that we as a people went through in South Africa to get us to the ultimate point of we are survivors through it all. We are survivors and still are surviving the effects as we grow beyond what apartheid attempted to do. We overcame, right? And I love the sayings. I love just how it just depicts it, even with the bars just showing imprisonment, but ultimately not entrapment because we broke free. And so, boom shakalaka, more of that. Obviously, a lot of that, a lot of different cultures, a lot of different people that are even represented in South Africa today. And then it shows you what it felt like even to walk into different places where on one side it was whites, on the other side it was non-whites, essentially, which you were, classified, race classification. This was interesting because it talks about at 1985, you had at least 1,000 chameleons, which they deemed chameleons to be if you weren't white, you were classified in another racial group. So there you can see 3 Chinese became white, 5 Indians became colored, and the list goes on. So this was their way, even written down in Parliament, of how people were racially identified because of the color of their skin and how this went about. Like, what in the world? Boom shakalaka. There's a fact. 12 million classifications. There's a saying. I just had to get it. And then we're walking out now from the area. Obviously, I went to the non-European, the colored side. But actually, they give you a ticket. A ticket lets you know which side to walk through. And then I came up to this sign that says no photography, no recording inside, which I was like, oh man, I wanted to show to the people. However, I'll share my thoughts of it after. Oh, all right, great people. So as you all saw, we did get to a point where it said do not record, in which there is where the entrance of the whole museum took place. Now, I will say, first things first, there is a right turn that you can make to give you the whole Nelson Mandela tour and things like that, or a left tour just to get like an idea of everything. Now, I would recommend you to go left first, which will give you a walkthrough of apartheid from the conception to life thereof to the fight for freedom, right? And so you get the overall idea and gist of what apartheid is, with plenty of information and historical facts of the who's, the where's, the when's, the how's, and the list goes on. And then also it talks about the various freedom fighters and freedom leaders that took us, those that are in South Africa, out of apartheid to the now freedom that is now expressed with diversity, freedom, and the list goes on, right? But then on the Nelson Mandela side, it was very rich in information from his birth to when he was born with his parents, and then it was then sent to live with another family that then raised him, from then school to then, all of that, right? From everything. And then it gave historical facts of Desmond Tutu, which was very informative to me. I knew very little about him. I've heard of the name and things like that, but to hear of him from his birth to following his dad's footsteps of being a teacher to then being a priest within the Anglican Church, which allowed him to have a family and things like that. And so it was just cool just to look at it all, to view it all, to watch it all. I definitely do recommend minimum. They say 2 hours, but literally we spent 3 hours and we rushed to the end because we're hungry. And so I say that to say 3 hours minimum. There's a lot of information, a lot to read, a lot to see, a lot to take in. But again, I do recommend you to go left first. When you go into it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Go left first, walk through the situation, and then come back to the Nelson Mandela side. So it'll help you to not only understand what took place, but then take in those in respect of who they talk about that led for the change. So in it all, with it all, great museum, very detailed, very informative, with photos, with actual artifacts, and the list goes on. Very clear depiction of what took place, and it gives you a real feeling of the thought and the action and the lifestyle and the ways that were during that time. So again, Apartheid Museum that I did take a photo of in the beginning and walk you through in the beginning is one that you want to view when you come to South Africa, right? It gives you a full understanding of why things are the way they are today, as well as the fights that took place to get us here, right? But in it all, great museum. And yeah, I'll continue to show y'all some things in South Africa, so definitely stay tuned for the videos to follow. Till next time.